Gojira.
And welcome to the Monster Report Live. Your host, Nick Adam here. We're glad to have you here on the Monster Report Live, where we are talking about the legacy of Godzilla, the Big G himself. A couple of weeks ago, it was actually a stream we did. This is part 2 of the legacy episode of that, the Godzilla, the legacy. And we, Everett and I, Godzilla fan freaks, had a little difficulty. Actually, I had a little difficulty. He was holding steady. My internet access out here in the boonies of Indiana wasn't holding strong as I wished it were, but it's the best I can do. So, and I appreciate Everett for holding on as long as he did, but in the end, we had to punt on that. And we had the spinning wheel with all the Godzilla movies and all of them that existed at that time and still exist to this time. We left out the short films or animated series or anything, just the movies, and we discussed them one by one, and it was a marathon. I honestly think the internet just gave up on me is what it was. So, but we're back to finish up that list. So today, before I bring in my guests, plural, for today, I'd ask you to like and subscribe right here on the Monster Report. Hit that like button, atomic blast that like button, as we like to say. And of course, I want to make sure that we are getting there to 100,000 subscribers. And that's all because of you guys that is possible. Very close, less than 2,000 subscribers, and we will be there. Jonathan's in the chat already, loosely collected. Howdy, good to have you. We've got Chris Eaton in the chat. And Chris, I have a great shout out in my next box day because I bought something from you recently, and we're going to have that. And of course, if you've been following Chris on social outlets, the Kaiju Kingdom podcast, he's got awesome photos and video from Japan. I'm so jealous of his trip. He's had just an amazing time, I'm sure. Chris, let us know in the chat if you're back home, because I worry about you. I worry we're going to lose you to Japan because the United States needs you back. So you can let us know that in the chat. So without anything further, let's bring in our guest today. First, we have my good friend, Everett Grondin, Godzilla Fan Freaks. How you doing, man?
What's going on, Nick? Very happy to continue this legacy stream with you here, along with Michael Zillafan85. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, glad to be here. I'm very, very excited for this.
Yes, right. Glad to have you. Chris is one more day in Japan, so we'll be glad to have you back. I figured they might want to keep him after all the photography and all the publicity he's been giving them. And goodness gracious, I'm so jealous of that. And yeah, got a shout out for Everett from Jonathan, our good friend.
Oh, Jonathan.
So, yeah. Okay, real quick before we get into it, I'm going to call it Godzilla Month because Godzilla Day is just a day. So how has Godzilla Month been treating you, gentlemen?
Michael, go ahead. I'll let you shoot that one.
All right. So it's actually been going pretty good. I mean, this marking the 70th anniversary this year of Godzilla, just, kind of a lot to take in, and just kind of, for me personally, I guess sort of a trip down memory lane, just thinking back to my first experiences with Godzilla, getting into the films, and then of course all the collectibles, et cetera, and and then just kind of thinking where I started to where I am right now, you know what I mean? And it's definitely been a wild ride, but one I certainly wouldn't turn in for the entire world. And I did a couple videos this month. One really wanted to try and at least somewhat in my figure review, try to somewhat honor the occasion. I reviewed the SH Monster Arts 2004 Godzilla, which I know, Everett, you're not a fan of Final Wars, but it being the 20th anniversary of that film coinciding with the 70th anniversary and the last time that an actual physical suit was used in a Godzilla film, I thought that it was at least kind of a nice ode to the occasion. So that's sort of my spiel. I'll let you take it from here, Everett.
My Godzilla month has been, it's been pretty good. Of course, wasn't able to bring back the festival this year, but I'm going to try to do my darndest to get it up and running for at least next year, maybe year after. I don't know. We just got to see how things play out. But other than that, been, watching, I've watched Godzilla -1 a few times this month, as well as a few other films. It's always good to just pop some of those in. Picked up the 4K version of -1 that has the dub on it, and then watch the dub, which the dub is okay, and with me growing up on dubs, it was kind of like, okay, it's an experience. It does change the movie a little bit. I want to say you don't get a lot of that emotional seriousness tone with the dub as much as you do the original Japanese audio. And then as far as, Godzilla Day and everything itself, I know Nick was there for Chris's stream that he did recently on catching up on his channel for Goji Fan 93. But I agree with Chris. I was kind of really underwhelmed this year with the short film and everything. Like, it was cool. It was still cool to see and everything like that. But I was underwhelmed with that. We didn't get a animated Gemstone movies we've been the last few years. So it's like that kind of ran out of steam, or maybe they didn't have time. And now, of course, they announced a Blu-ray release of all of the tokusatsu shorts that they did for the Godzilla days. So that almost makes me feel like they're wrapping that up. It didn't feel the impact for the 70th anniversary as I thought we would all, again, like Chris said it best, last year was way better. Not even just because of the Tucson Kaiju Festival and all of us being together, but it was just like the Megalon short, the Gemstone did, the Jet Jaguar short, I feel was a lot better. Everything was just better last year. Something was just lacking this year. King Caesar didn't get any love whatsoever. What's up with that? I mean, it's his 50th right now too. He deserves some love. So Godzilla month for me myself was fun. As far as what we have received, I want to say it was just a little lacking. Like, it was still cool. It was still better than nothing, but I don't know. It just felt not as full head of steam as it had the past couple years.
I agree.
I get it.
For such a momentous milestone here, I guess, if you want to call it that, for the 70th anniversary, I was expecting a lot more. So yeah, I agree. Nick, what do you think?
Well, yeah, and I was going to bring in Chris again. What Chris Keaton saying, cooling off period was needed, so he's spent, goodness gracious, I think the entire month of November in Japan, with the pictures and with the video that he's been sending back, seeing, all the events that were happening, not just on Godzilla Day, but the expo in Osaka. So it did seem like there was a lot happening in Japan for Godzilla's 70th. And of course, internationally, we kind of get what they send out to us. And it's in collectibles, and it's in the Godzilla -1, came out last year, of course, a re-release this year. So I did get to see that minus color back in theaters with the extra features, which was behind the scenes. That was kind of cool to see, and seeing it with some Godzilla friends of mine. And so, that was an experience to behold. But yeah, for 70th anniversary, it would have been nice if it was, kind of bigger. Maybe if we were to have, like you said, more short films. We did get an announcement of another film, from Takashi Yamazaki being involved. That's great. That's something. Not much of anything else other than just an announcement. So, there's a lot of these content creators that take that little announcement and just extract a whole, world out of it. And it's like, he made an announcement.
Yeah.
When the title was revealed for Godzilla X Kong, and it's like, title, that doesn't tell you anything right now. So just chill just a little bit. So we've got Loosely Collected back in Final Wars Rock. Stop fighting it. Just giggle and enjoy. I guess that was a message for you, GFF. So wow. Yeah,
No comment.
Jedi Grace. Yeah, Walter's in the house. Good to see you, Walter. And join us for the evening. We also got Adrian in the house. I know the MWA crew just had their Raw talk. I wasn't able to see it live, but I'll check it out on the replay. But yeah, Adrian, gonna have you back at some point on the show. And I love to be on that show again because it's always a lot of fun talking this stuff up with Godzilla fans, with Kaiju Tokusatsu fans like you guys. I'm still on the air.
You are still on the air. You're being really choppy, though.
Yeah. Robot voice. If I had the emoji thing available on StreamYard, I'd put like the robot thing up.
I don't know what I said about.
Oh, no.
Please don't tell us. Hey, Nick, if you're using Wi-Fi, do you have the ability to hook up through Ethernet? Because I'm assuming you're on your computer. So, because I think that might help. Because I know one time when I did a stream and I was on Wi-Fi, it was terrible. And once I switched to a hard connection, it made a big difference.
Yeah. Well, he's frozen right now, so who knows what information he's getting.
I think I'm talking to the air right now.
Am I gone too?
No, you're here. I can hear you just fine.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Nah, Nick's no. There he goes.
He's spinning. Hopefully.
Well, we'll control the stream for a little bit because I know he's going to try his darndest to get back in. But oh, there is he back? Nick might just have to do audio.
There you go. We're on audio. Yep.
I'll stick with audio. So, anyways, yeah, I don't have an 80s tee, so that's all I wanted to get. I don't want to, delay this any longer. So let's bring in the wheel.
The wheel.
Round and round she goes. Where she stops, it'll be. Oh my goodness. Godzilla's Revenge.
Oh boy.
And gents, who would like to start on their thoughts on Godzilla's Revenge or All Monsters Attack as it's also known as?
I'll take the lead on this one. Godzilla's Revenge, as an adult, you kind of stray away from the film a little bit, but as myself, I'm sure all of us here, we all grew up as a kid with Godzilla's Revenge at some point. And sure, it may not be the best. It's full of stock footage. It's just a compilation of the Godzilla best of, basically, Showa era up to that point. But for what the movie is and the message that it gets across at the time, which is to learn to kind of stand on your own 2 feet. There's things in life that you might have to deal with on your own. I mean, sure, maybe don't automatically go to violence for it, but it's just kind of showing you that stand up to bullying type message. And I still think that still really holds a really strong message regardless of the time period. So Godzilla's Revenge has a soft spot in my heart. I enjoy the film for what it is. Gabra is a really cool concept of a monster. Would be really cool to see him return one of these days. Michael, what about you?
Yeah, well, you kind of know already, but this might be odd to some of the watchers here, but I am actually a very big fan of Godzilla's Revenge. I always have been. I absolutely love the film. It was, you can maybe say it's nostalgic glasses because it was one of my earliest experiences watching Godzilla. It dated all the way back to, as you know, Godzilla Bash 94 from TNT's Monster Vision. It was part of that lineup, so I was exposed to it from very early on, and it's been very high up on my list over all the years. Yeah, I admit it's not story-wise and what have you. It's not as great as some other of the Godzilla films, but I do really have always enjoyed it. I, like I said, I have a lot of nostalgic fondness for it, and I felt it very relatable, like you said, because of the message. And I personally have experienced, because I'll admit I was bullied as a kid. I didn't have a lot of friends back then, and Godzilla was always sort of my go-to. And I felt like I could very much relate to Ichiro in that respect. And I really felt a bond with Ichiro, and even with him doing weird stuff and making weird noises, I do that kind of thing too, and I still do that kind of things. So I felt very relatable to the film. Like you said, I loved Gabara as a kaiju. Minya talking was a little weird, especially in the English dub. He had kind of a Barney voice, but it was still fun for me to watch. And I know it was like you said, it was basically a stock footage fest, but it's probably really, I think, what because I know it was sort of a message film of what Ishiro Honda wanted to do as far as the state of Japan at the time, and the way like everybody, like kids were growing up, where basically their families were working the whole time. The kids had to take care of themselves essentially. And it was just kind of a heartfelt kind of a situation, the way that it was really explained. And so it was kind of it was a speak on that, basically, the way that he portrayed the film. And so I really have always appreciated it. And to me, that's why people may think I'm crazy for loving it, but that's just my personal take on it. I'll try to keep it to that, so this way we can let Nick have a chance.
Nick, what about you on Godzilla's Revenge?
Oh, good. I got you. I'm back. So yeah, thank you for keeping up with this. I have the glitchy, never that is holding strong, gentlemen. So basically, yeah, Godzilla's Revenge. I had this thing on VHS and watched the heck out of it as a kid. Loved it as a kid, actually, because some of the films that it uses stock footage from, at the time I hadn't seen. And that during the other, like, I real and it was a bit of a betrayal, but I stuck with it. I loved it still. Am I gone again?
You're like you're in and out right now.
Yeah. Nick, can you hear me? Do you have are you using Wi-Fi or do you have Ethernet?
I don't all of us have Ethernet, unfortunately. It's just too far from our access point. So I tell you what I'll do, gentlemen. You're still with me to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to spin the wheel. Let's talk about the next film. I'm going to actually reboot the router altogether.
Okay.
Okay, spinning the wheel here.
All right, next movie.
Can you see the wheel spin? I can't.
No, it's not spinning yet, unless he blips out before that. Yeah. It looks like he blipped out before that. So, Godzilla's Revenge. What else can we talk about it? It's just such a wholesome movie at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. I mean, again, you do have the Barney voice for Minya and the dubbed, but I will say I prefer the dubbed over the original Japanese audio, because that Minya is unwatchable for me.
Agreed. I mean, and I'm used to, like I've spoken to you about many times, I grew up with the dubs, so it's kind of just what I'm used to at this point.
Okay, he did spin the wheel.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
All right, he spun the wheel. Oh, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. I'm about to make a lot of people mad with this one. I love this movie. This movie is fantastic. I don't care what anybody says. It is one of the best. People need to give it more love than what it's been getting all these years. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla is such a fun Godzilla adventure movie. I love it. It's great. Michael.
You're probably gonna bop me on the head for this, but I would have to say it's actually my least favorite of the Heisei era.
Of course.
I do apologize. I will admit I like Space Godzilla as a kaiju. I think he's a really cool concept, and I think the execution was really cool. The roar is a little odd, but I guess it makes sense given his origins and all that. And I appreciate the continuity because I know that Space Godzilla was at least in part evolved or mutated from Biollante, and you can even tell by his elongated face, his tusks. I appreciate that sort of thing. Where it fell short for me, I just didn't really like the music. The fight at the end was cool. I did enjoy that with Godzilla and Mogira sort of teaming up, but not really against Space Godzilla. The part, I guess, that I don't know, the part that kind of lost me a bit was the whole thing with the Yakuza and the one guy that just decided, oh, I'm just going to leave G-Force and join the Yakuza of all groups, and the whole, we got to rescue Mickey Sagusa thing. I guess that part kind of lost me a bit in the film, but like I said, some of the other stuff I liked. I actually really liked Little Godzilla in there. I think that might have been his cutest I've ever seen him. I felt bad when he got trapped, but then, of course, he was freed at the end of the film. And I assume we're going spoilers heavy here because everybody, I would figure, has seen all
I would hope everybody's seen all these, yeah.
So that's just kind of my take on it. But it's like I said, it's not to say I really don't dislike any Godzilla film other than the anime trilogy. That's about where I kind of draw the line. Otherwise, I do enjoy pretty much every Godzilla film. It's just compared to the others, I have it a little lower on my list, I guess, if that makes sense. So
that's fair, and that's how I feel about Final Wars. It's like, yeah, I don't really, I don't hate it. Like that's all part of the fun and games between all of us. It's like. But Godzilla versus Space Godzilla, again, I really enjoy the film. I had it on VHS growing up, and it was just an overall fun film for me. I love the music. I love the costumes. The Space Godzilla suit is beautiful. It's amazing. The final battle, again, like you said, that whole thing is awesome with Mogira splitting off into two pieces and everything like that. It has its elements. I can understand why people don't like it, but I just wish it wasn't as hated on as it is, because I do believe it deserves a little more love than what it gets, for sure. But Space Godzilla, just a good solid Godzilla adventure for me. I enjoy it greatly.
I think Nick is back, so we can let him give his take on it.
Yeah.
I am back, and we'll see how I stick around. So, yeah, Autistic Lizard Productions, good to see you. Thank you for being here, Brendan. Okay. Is my audio at least coming through?
Yes, you're coming through.
Apparently, my audio is not coming through. Oh,
you are, okay. Nick. We can hear you.
You are.
Space Godzilla. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Space Godzilla, I gotta admit. Of the Heisei series, sometimes I end up skipping this one, but there are moments. It has its moments. It's got its funny moments. I actually like seeing Mogira. Mogira is a pretty cool, cyber kaiju, if you will. So. And I love the Mysterians, of course, going way back. But this Mogira is used for a very different reason than the Mysterians were using it for. But I always call him the discount space. He's the discount Mecha Godzilla. But he does kick some butt, actually, in the movie. He does all right for himself. Yeah, some of the script of this movie, though, does not make sense to me. There is just moments in it. I'm just like, why are they doing this? And some of the ideas, they always start good ideas and then never follow up with them. They wanted to try a blood coagulant. Okay, that's not a bad idea. And after it just didn't work, he never tried it again. At least Yuki there actually is in Shin Godzilla.
Yeah.
And he's a blood coagulant. Maybe you guys mentioned this already. Sorry.
You're good, Nick.
Did you mention this?
No, we actually didn't touch on that yet, but I was going to mention it.
And I do actually have an interesting thought going off of what you're saying about that, Nick, given the blood coagulant. It, to me, was a big missed opportunity in the film, that because Space Godzilla was essentially of Godzilla's DNA, that could have maybe been his kryptonite that the humans could have used to help Godzilla, and Mogera essentially to take out Space Godzilla. I think that was a missed opportunity.
No, you're right. It is. It went back to Deus Ex Machina in a sense. I guess both would be Deus Ex Machina, whether it was a blood coagulant or his shoulder crystals are his weakness. I mean, come on. It's kind of obvious. So there is that to consider when you think about Space Godzilla. It's like there was a missed opportunity, like you said, foreshadowing. It's like, why did they put that in the film if they weren't going to use that in some way? We had to pad this movie with a lot of extra fluff, a lot of these, heists that are going on in the background, and people who are trying to use the psychic energy from, Mickey Sagusa and, for nefarious reasons. Okay. I get it. But again, that plot kind of goes nowhere. It really doesn't, move forward the story. So again, a script writing thing, that aspect of this I could have done without. But yeah, enough said on me with Space Godzilla.
Did he blip right at that moment?
He's still there. I was waiting for him to spin the wheel.
Michael, did you get your thoughts out on Space Godzilla?
Yeah, we both did. So you wrapped it up.
Here we go. Do it before I get excommunicated here.
All right, what did it stop on? Is that Gigan?
Godzilla versus Gigan, yeah.
Gigan.
Okay. All right. Michael, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
Let me go first. Okay. This was definitely a film that I had a lot of fun with. Always have. It's not super high on my personal list, but it's a pretty decent, it's like a decent placement kind of Godzilla film, if that makes sense, like that sort of midway point for me. I know it's take it or leave it for some fans. I've always really enjoyed it. I think Gigan is an awesome kaiju who doesn't get enough screen time, and I think he's really underutilized, unfortunately. Would love to see him in future films, you know what I mean, should the opportunity arise, and show him in his full glory. I mean, he's supposed to have that I-beam that was never actually utilized in the film, and just, he's just this bruiser of a kaiju, basically. I mean, he's like a walking arsenal with the way he's got the hook claws, the buzzsaw chest, and just such a cool kaiju. And the team up of him and King Ghidorah, or Ghidorah, whatever you want to call him, against Godzilla and Anguirus. And I say whatever you want to say because I know certain of our viewers will rag on us about the way we pronounce him. I just say Ghidorah, but whatever. Anyways, so it was a really cool fight. I enjoy. I guess they used, what was it, like a stock music that they were using from Akira Ifukube, I guess, in the film, but it was still worked for what they were going for. And I love that Godzilla march at the end. I always sing along with it at the end of the film. The Godzilla Tower was really cool. I mean, it was just a fun film overall, but I don't want to ramble too much, so I'll let either you or Nick go next.
Okay, I'll take it. Godzilla versus Gigan, great fun film. Of course, it was the last of the Showa era where Haru Nakajima played Godzilla. That was his last time playing Godzilla since '54, starting it all. And I mean, like you said, Gigan, awesome monster design. I know Jonathan, Lucy Collected, if he's still here watching, he's a big fan of Gigan. I mean, you just can't go wrong with Gigan. I mean, again, the design is cool. Face, the colors that they used, everything. Again, his arsenal of weapons. just a fantastic monster cyborg kaiju design. Again, teaming up with King Ghidorah, also just very, very, cool. It was cool to see Anguirus come back into the fray too and team up with Godzilla. And again, just have that monster tag team action. The whole setting in Children's Land is really cool. Godzilla Tower. I love the Godzilla Tower. I have that little figure up on the shelf of the X Plus Toho Maniacs of it. I mean, I'm shocked that the Godzilla Tower has not been created over in Japan. Like no one, like Toho hasn't built that thing. You know what I mean? Like just make it already. Like we have the hotel, which is awesome, but give us a whole Godzilla Tower. That's what we want to see. But oh man, it's just a great fun Godzilla adventure, awesome monster kaiju action. Actually, even though it does have its stock footage within it and everything like that, I still really enjoy and is probably one of my favorite scenes from the Showa era, just with the music and everything. I love the Gigan and King Ghidorah destruction scene where they're sicked on Tokyo. You know what I mean? I love that. I think it's just great. Even the way the stock footage is melded in there. I mean, it is what it is. It's fun and it's just very enjoyable to me. So I love the Gigan and King Ghidorah destroying Tokyo scene. One of my favorite scenes in all of Godzilla media. It's just great. It's wonderful. Fantastic, fun Godzilla adventure film. I think this is the only Godzilla movie that has no original soundtrack. I could be wrong on that because I think all the soundtrack for this movie is all stock soundtrack from other movies. I don't think Godzilla vs. Gigan has an original track in it. I could be wrong, but I think...
Well, said the Godzilla March would be original. That'd probably be the only thing.
Yeah. But that's all I have on Godzilla vs. Gigan. Nick?
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there. I just wanted to...
Oh, you're good.
I didn't know if you were searching for an answer for that because, it is all Akira Ifukube from Battle in Outer Space, Destroy All Monsters, War of the Gargantuas, a lot of different music cues from the legacy of Akira Ifukube. But it's you had to reuse a lot of that and the stock footage as well from Ghidra. Also, War of the Gargantuas. Also, goodness gracious, I think there's a bit of Frankenstein Conquers the World in there too. There is there obviously maybe an Invasion of Astro Monster, but I could be wrong about any of that footage. I don't know if necessarily there's any.
It's hard to say. Sometimes Ghidra, the three-headed monster, and Astro Monster stock footage kind of goes hand in hand.
Yeah. And I'll say this. I like Godzilla vs. Gigan a lot better than Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. This is one that this one goes back for me from the video store that only had 1985, Mechagodzilla 74, and Gigan in stock. So that's why for me this one always has a special place in my heart. So won't go on any longer about that, except for the fact that this one, what you said, Everett, about that being shot beautifully, the destruction scene with Ghidra and Gigan in Tokyo there, that was beautifully shot, lit perfectly, and the miniature work just wonderful. Everything about that, you could watch that over and over again. And if you could just take the stock footage out, I'd be all right with it because it would shorten the film, sure, but I'd be all right with that. And the Children's Land stuff is cool. Godzilla Tower, like you said, that was one I had to pick up too because that's an awesome little collectible to have.
Yes.
Yeah. So, all right. Maybe I'll hold stable here. My PoE, which is Power over Ethernet, is a POS. 85.
There we go.
I've got to take 85 if you guys are all right with that.
No, go for it. Go for it.
It's my show, so I'm taking it. All right. So Godzilla 1985 is my absolute favorite. This is the first one I saw on TV as a kid, scared half to death, but I loved it. I couldn't get enough. of Godzilla 1985. Show me more, scare me more. As a little 4-year-old kid, I couldn't get enough of this film. And when I saw it in the video store, I was quite happy. Rented it so much that I bought it. And after the video store went out of business, I bought that VHS tape, that very one that I rented the heck out of. I'm like, I have to own this. This is where it began for me. Love how it's lit. Love the music. The Cybot's amazing. The suit's amazing. We've got, Kenpachiro Satsuma from Hedra and Gigan, making his first appearance as Godzilla in the Godzilla suit to set a new legacy of the Heisei series and being Godzilla and, rest in peace, Satsuma-san, because we've lost him as well as Mr. Nakajima. And so, but yeah, just everything about this film, was a real step up for me. And, it had a lot that reminded me of King Kong 1976. Very realistic, practical effects, a lot of animatronics going on. Love seeing the fact that Godzilla's lips curl, his eyes dilate and move. There's a lot of things about this that actually just worked really well. And of course, it's a solo Godzilla film, just him versus the military, which I really love. So harkening back to the original Godzilla 54, and I saw this before 54 or the original Godzilla, whether it's 56 with Raymond Burr, but the fact that you had Raymond Burr and they were talking about this original 30-year-old, Godzilla time period that had elapsed, and it's part of their history. And it's kind of been sort of forgotten, but then he's come back, and now how do we deal with him? And it was always a mystery to me how they killed Godzilla in the original 54, because it was like, they say they defeated him back then, but they never explained how in this film. And so that made it, just more appetizing for me to see the other Godzilla films that were out there, especially at that time. It was a grail to find, Godzilla King of the Monsters out on VHS tape. And eventually I did find it at a video store. So, it took a long time, but we finally got it. And I was glad I did get it. And then, of course, it became, a lot more popular, a lot more accessible on VHS and such. So, eventually I was able to see the Japanese cut of that too. And eventually got to see Return of Godzilla 84, which is the Japanese version of this. And, I felt a little disappointed, to tell you the truth. I mean, there was some things that were still cool about it. And I still like some of the visual effects shots that they left out of 85, the American cut. But still, I understood why they took those visual effects shots out. Things like the giant foot, it didn't quite work well. There were other shots of Godzilla where you could see wire work. Yeah, I get why they took that out. And they changed a bit of his roar. They changed a bit of the soundtrack, of course, here and there. Added that great track by Raymond Burr. And I'll just keep going on for an hour like on this one. So I'll send it back to you, gentlemen. Michael, you want to take it from here?
Absolutely. 85, of course, a film I absolutely love. And of course, representing my birth year, hence Zillafan 85. I first rented it from the video store as well. It was my first time seeing it. The good old days of Blockbuster, if you gentlemen remember. And I just remember, just like you said, Nick, I was honestly quite scared the first time I watched this. To me, still, I know maybe he's not considered as grotesque or as intimidating as like Shin Godzilla or the GMK Godzilla or whatever, but I still, to this day, just that rawness of it, I still find this the scariest Godzilla, and especially the Cybot version when they show the close-ups of his face and you see him roaring and like the lips are curling up, and I'm getting a little too much in character here when I'm describing that, but some of those scenes like just scared the bejeebus out of me when I was a kid, and like you said, it was great to see Raymond Burr back. Obviously, my initial Godzilla film was the American, the 56 Godzilla King of the Monsters. So being able to see him return to the role of Steve Martin, or Mr. Martin, as they called him, because of actor Steve Martin. They didn't want to confuse people. But it was great to see his speech at the end. That on top of, I hate to always bring it up, but the Godzilla scream to this day honestly brings tears to my eyes. I really, yeah, I know that hits you in the feels, that ending. I think it felt actually more impactful than the Japanese or the international dub of the film, honestly. The scenes with him battling the Super X to me is so freaking cool. I love that as a military vehicle. All three versions of them, but it started here with this film. It's just been such a great experience, and for the longest time, this one and Godzilla versus Biollante were the only two Heisei films that I ever saw. And yeah, I know technically this is part of the Showa era, but it's considered a Heisei era Godzilla film. But until I got to see the rest when AMC aired them on their, I think they called it Monster Fest back in those days. Those were the only two Heisei films that I've ever seen, and I really enjoyed both of them. And you know, I mean, it's just there's so much, you know, good that you can really say. At least I feel this is to me one of the best solo Godzilla films outside of the original, honestly. And I still feel that way. I love the grittiness of it. I just again, probably like reiterating what Nick said, I could probably ramble on and on and on, but I want to give Everett a chance to go. So.
All right. Hey, there we go. Got the roar in there. 84, 85. I mean, it's a great movie. I mean, I love it. I love how all of us here are in agreement, because you do see it, that the American dubbed version with Raymond Burr, people hate that version. I don't know why. I think it's great. I agree with you, Michael. It does have more of an impactful ending, in my opinion. I mean, I love the Raymond Burr cut, and with all its Dr. Pepper-ness and everything, and I know Nick's made bits on that in the past that have just been hilarious. But the music score for this film, again, the Cybot, the way certain angles and the cinematography is done, because this Godzilla is much bigger. So again, the way the sets were built, and he's got these giant skyscrapers that tower even over him, just to give him that more sense of this is a bigger Godzilla and everything like that. I think is just fantastic. Didn't really scare me too much as a kid. I grew up with this one on VHS as well, not renting it though. I actually had a copy of it. I forget who released the copy, but I remember my dad buying it from Suncoast back in the day. And so that's what I grew up with. But I actually was scared of like the very beginning of this film with the sea louse. That thing is terrifying. I don't, you know, like that in itself, just the way the movie opens up, the ship is kind of abandoned. There's all these dead bodies. It gives you a very scary tone. So that's what always freaked me out. But after that, just everything with Godzilla, all the different, you know, nations coming together to help Japan and try to figure out how to solve this issue, like Godzilla being that global issue type deal. It's just a great fun film. I love 84, 85. Fantastic.
All right, excellent. So I've got to give a quick shout out here if I can get my camera working for just a minute here. A shout out to Chris Eaton, who I bought this little Funko Godzilla 84 from. Not huge into Funkos, but because it's got the 84 name attached to it, I had to own it, and I saw that he was selling it, so I picked that up. And while I was at Fort Wayne hanging out with Nathan Marchon of Monster Island Film Vault, seeing Godzilla -1 up in theaters there, I found they call it the Chase exclusive version of the Godzilla 84, all shown in red, orange there, like the fires of the city. And when I saw a picture of it, I was like, oh, that's a great idea. Make him look like he did look in the movie, with all of the orange glow, the fires of Tokyo. I mean, that's just awesome. So
that's very cool.
Why haven't they done an X Plus like that? Maybe they have. I don't know.
No, they haven't done anything like that.
That would be awesome. So,
and by the way, am I not alone in the fact that in the 70th anniversary, the 40th anniversary of the 84 version, why did we not get an SH Monster Arts announcement for figure?
Good point. Good point. And they could have done it in orange. That would have been awesome. I know that was going to take up a bit of our time. So, yeah, moving on. Everett, Horror of the Deep.
All right.
Let's see. Michael, why don't you take it?
Okay, Ebira, Horror of the Deep, aka Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. First time I ever saw this was on believe it or not, the Disney Channel of all places. I think I know they had a double header between this and then Son of Godzilla right after it. So that was my first time viewing both of these films. I've always really, really liked this film a lot. I love the island setting. It's that classic Jun Fukuda setup that he's got. It's fantastic. It's very brightly colored. The characters are great. I love Akira Takarada, and he's this sort of sleazy burglar kind of guy, but then he's kind of noble in his own right, and he's willing to help his friends out and everything. And then what was the younger kid's name, the one that was looking for his brother? Was it Rhoda? I think it was.
Yeah.
He was an interesting character, and I liked his sort of arc and how he was so committed to finding his brother, and the way that they ended up on the island there, and of course end up facing the red bamboo, and we get to see what's his name, Akihiko Hirata, back, and of course he's got an eye patch again as the leader of the red bamboo. That was great.
On the opposite side, by the way.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's not Reborn Sarazawa. This is a new guy.
Yeah, exactly. This time he's a bad guy, but he played the role very well, I think. He was definitely one of the standout actors from Toho's Showa era, I think. But just a cool little setup. I think they were building like nuclear weapons on the island. It was really interesting. And then of course the whole slave thing that they were doing with the people of Infant Island, and we had to get Mothra involved. And I know initially this was going to be set up as a King Kong film, and there's actually many notes to the way Godzilla acts and interacts with the human characters that showcase that, including even the way that he was resurrected with the lightning, which is almost like a callback to King Kong versus Godzilla. But just really, really cool stuff to note. I found the fight scenes between Godzilla and Ebirah really fun. We get to see the monster volleyball, as we call it, and just really cool stuff. And just always a film that I've really, really enjoyed. So I'll let you guys go from here. Who we got next? Nick, I'll let you take it.
Okay. And this one I've actually rewatched recently with the kids. I don't know why. It's just one that every once in a while you got to bust out. Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. And I grew up with this on the VHS tape with that dub. That was, I don't know if it's Tetra who did that dub on the VHS tape or whatever, but it was definitely the international version on the DVD Blu-rays that came out, later on, which I was really disappointed with that dub. It's pretty awful, tell you the truth, but it is what it is. What are we supposed to do about it? So I deal with it the best I can. I am still working on a fan dub of using that classic dub, but of the Blu-ray, of footage anyway. So I've done that with Godzilla versus Hedorah, and it actually worked really well. But this one is proving to be somewhat of a challenge. So I haven't completely gotten there where I needed to be, but I've done the best I can. But it's still a fun movie, and you mentioned it pretty well, and it's got a great cast. With the like you said, Akira Takarada, Akihiko Hirata. We had who was a Jun Suzaki. Lots of great Toho people in this. So, and Ebirah is a cool kaiju, and seeing Mothra again is great. We didn't have the same Shobijin, but that's all right. I guess they couldn't get them for this one, but it worked. So got to share this first though, because it was Thanksgiving recently. because we had the appearance of the kaiju that was so great they didn't even really give him a name. And this may be a little jab to the people who vote the giant condor as the the next Bandai, I guess, figure that they wanted. And I'm like, okay, really? The giant condor? Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. We barely get to see the guy. So, or the thing, whatever it is, the guy, the whatever. So, oh, well, I had to get my little jab in there on that and, do some photoshopping for Thanksgiving. So that's all I got on that. And I'm trying to maybe move it along a little faster, guys. Nothing against you guys. This is great. But yeah, we'll, Everett, if you would take it from Sea Monster there, and I'll bring up the circle.
Yeah, no. Sea Monster, great colorful film. I mean, everything was mentioned here. I enjoyed it a lot. Grew up with it on VHS. It's definitely, again, the island setting. Everything is it's just a colorful, wonderful, beautifully casted film. The music's great. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, and I love that FSL of the Ebra, Godzilla versus Ebra that you've got, Everett. That is a sweet, sweet figure, and the detail on Ebra is awesome.
Yes.
All right, Ghidorah or Ghidra, however you want to pronounce him, but as long as you pronounce him using this voice.
There you go.
There we go. So, yeah, Everett, you can talk on Ghidra. You can start on this one.
Ghidra,
you call him Ghidorah. I don't care.
Ghidorah, tomato, potato. Absolutely wonderful. I love this movie. I think it's great. It's got every element you can think of from a monster movie. The human characters are great. The princess that thinks that she's a Martian girl, and then the whole, police, almost 007 James Bond-esque of the film is just, it's fun. It's great. You have the assassins, and then just the monsters in general. It's just fun to see Godzilla, Rodan, then you got Mothra, and then we have this new monster, Ghidra, and it's just played out very well. The destruction scenes that, of course, later become the notorious stock footage in several other Ghidorah movies from the Showa series. But the first time seeing all of this on screen back in '64 must have been mind-blowing to see this three-headed golden dragon just lay waste to the city, and the way all of that was shot with the miniatures and everything. Fantastic. Ghidra, the three-headed monster, just a fun, great Godzilla adventure. I want to say, for people who may not be a huge fan of the Showa series, this is one to at least see. You have to at least watch this one. That's all I got on Ghidra, the three-headed monster. Nick or Michael, either one of you?
Yeah, Michael, if you don't mind, I'll go real quick.
All right, I'll go. So Ghidorah or Ghidorah, whichever you prefer. In the words of Clark W. Griswold, that's Monster Zero to you and me. But anyway, so this is honestly, I know I can ramble on about this because this is actually my second favorite Godzilla film of all time, behind Destroy All Monsters. Yep. So that's where my headspace is at. But absolutely everything that Everett said, I feel the exact same way. I love the miniature work. Again, a great cast in this, a great story. I love the whole plot against the princess. And then, like you said, after the plane explosion, that she thought that she was a Martian or Venetian, depending on which version you're watching, but that she was able to actually prophetize events that were going to happen. Really cool battles. I love the battle, that little slug out fest you had between Godzilla and Rodan kind of cheap shotting Godzilla, and then throwing his no place onto the what was it, like the phone tower or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I mean, just a lot of fun stuff that they had. And then, of course, Mothra bringing them all together and just when you saw like how Godzilla and Rodan at first, they weren't going to help. They didn't want anything to do with the humans. But then seeing Mothra's bravery was actually a really touching scene, and it inspired Godzilla and Rodan to join in on the fight. And it was the turning point from Godzilla as this villainous, or force of nature character to becoming the anti-hero and hero of the latter Showa films. Really, really a momentous point in the series, I think, and just an absolutely amazing film all around. So I know, like you said, we're trying to keep it to a minimal, so I'll keep it there.
All right.
Nick, go ahead.
Yeah, this one's always been Ghidra, and that's why he's known as Ghidra to me, because I started with this on VHS. It was actually spelled differently than as you see it there. And the dub of this one and the great Nick Adams in Invasion of Astro Monster, they pronounce it Ghidra. And when you hear it in the Japanese, you definitely hear them say Ghidra. And it does have the O-R-A-H a little bit in there, but it's so quick that it comes out like a G. So, but that's just the way I pronounce it. I am not at all, one who will, criticize anyone. But this was also one that I remember watching with my mother, who saw this when she was young at the theater for a quarter. So that memory that she has of this film, how, she loved it as a child, watching it and going to the movie theaters and seeing a big giant monster movie like this. And it was, kind of because of her generation. She wasn't there, to see the black and white 54 Godzilla Raids Again or King Kong versus Godzilla. It was closer to this era that she would have been going to the theaters. So that's one, her and I had kind of a special bond with this film. And then it kind of opened up more of the Godzilla world for me. Because again, it's so cool to see more than just one or two monsters on screen. And this one definitely had a really cool monster brawl going on. So yeah, it's awesome to see this, and the very rare appearance of Yosuke Natsuke, also from Godzilla 1985. You don't see him in many of the kaiju films. You saw him in Dogora, but not many other kaiju films. He was the detective who was, assigned to the princess. But that's, a very rare appearance by him. But unfortunately, we lost him just a couple of years ago. He was going to make an appearance at G-Fest, I remember one year. And he was too sick to be there. And the next year, I do believe he passed away. So, but yeah, this one had an all-star cast too, going for it. So it's a fantastic movie. Also a good one in that classic media set to listen to the David Callett commentary on. So
yeah,
final three here. Everett's got to take Terror of Mechagodzilla for obvious reasons.
All right, Terror of Mechagodzilla, my favorite Godzilla movie of all time. I love this movie. Grew up on the VHS of it. Titanosaurus is the best. The score, fantastic. The destruction scenes with Mechagodzilla just blowing up the buildings. They went all out with those pyrotechnics. That scene gives me chills every time I see it. I just think it's beautifully well done. The fight between Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, Titanosaurus, everything just awesome. And this was more of Titanosaurus's movie than it was Mechagodzilla's, because Mechagodzilla kind of takes a back seat. He's kind of just there for fire support. It's, Titanosaurus took center stage with the battles and everything like that. And just beautifully well done, awesome score. I love the ending, Godzilla swimming off into the sunset. It's just great. The alien outfits, love them. I love those helmets. Just crazy. I mean, you love all the characters, Katsura, just all of that. Absolutely wonderful. The whole plot where she becomes the controller for Mechagodzilla, and it's just, it's wild. It's a fun ride. It's a good, solid Godzilla movie and a great end to the 70s era. I love it. There you go.
I'll go real quick. So, Terror Mechagodzilla, awesome film. Great time for Ishiro Honda to come back to the Godzilla series. Unfortunately, this was his last film in the Godzilla series, but what a good send off it was to end the era. I know it's not necessarily technically the end of the Heisei series, but it kind of is. It really is. And sending him off into the sunset. So we got a good kaiju brawl in this one. Love that Godzilla suit. Love seeing Mechagodzilla back in action. He was so popular, with people that he's been rebuilt I don't know how many times, and keeps coming back for more. So it's great to see that. Titanosaurus, oh my goodness, whoever thought of this one? But it's like in a world where they have giant they're down there in that sub looking for a space cyborg. They have Godzilla, they have Monster Island with Hangulus and Rodan and Mothra and all of these other creatures running around, and they're surprised by Titanosaurus, and there's like, oh my goodness, it's a dinosaur. And it's like, what makes him different than any other kaiju that you got running around? So I don't know. There's just one of those things that kind of bothers me about this one. Michael, you can take it from there.
All right. Definitely another film I have a lot of nostalgic love for. Again, this was among the earliest that I ever saw because it was part of that Godzilla Bash 94 from Monster Vision. So always one that I've really, really liked a lot. To me, the two Showa Mechagodzilla films were the best of the 70s Godzilla. I know that you guys may not agree, but I just, to me, those are the cream of the crop from the 1970s. I always loved the Showa Mechagodzilla in general, whether it's 74, 75, my personal favorite, version of Mechagodzilla. And Godzilla himself, the 75 version, which is a modified Megaro Goji suit. This is, to me, the cream of the crop as far as that suit goes, because I love the way they made his face like he's a good guy, but he's mean and he's pissed, and I really loved what they did there. And he was a bad, trying to keep it PG rated here, a bad mamma jamma in the film, because he took on both Titanosaurus and Mechagodzilla by himself, and really, really a cool switcheroo that they did this time, because you always have Godzilla teaming up with somebody else. This was the first time it was 2-on-1 against him, so I like that. I mean, sort of, because I know we got the two larva Mothra, but that's neither here nor there. So anyways, so Titanosaurus is an awesome kaiju. It's a shame we've only seen him in one film. I think he deserves more love. I know, Everett, you agree with me there. Yep. I loved his roar. I thought it was cool. I even loved the way he was introduced in the film, as when they had the sub that exploded and then the tape recording after. And I always thought it was hilarious how every time the guy yelled, "It's a giant dinosaur," then you'd immediately hear Titanosaurus's roar after. And then, of course, the whole plot with was in Dr. Mifune and his daughter Katsura, and the way that she was designed to control Mechagodzilla, and Akihiko Hirata, who played Dr. Mifune, that was his last time ever in a Toho Godzilla film. So unfortunately, I think he passed away in 1983. I think it was. I might be wrong. That's right. On the year, but okay. Yeah. So just a lot going for it. And I love the black hole aliens, like Everett, like you mentioned, and how they were kind of, especially the commander, was this over the top villain, but just in the most awesome way. And again, a film that like I said, I have a lot of nostalgic memories for and have always loved. So I'll stop it there.
All right. And while I'm spinning with the last two, a shout out to Akira Kubo, who is still alive today. Today is his 88th birthday. I was going to say I was going to pair it with one of the movies that he was in, but none of them that we had left in this list were there. So, Michael, take it with Shin Godzilla, and we'll go up the ladder from you.
Awesome. And happy birthday to Akira Kubo, who, by the way, loved him as Captain Yamabe in Destroy All Monsters. I thought he was a bad mamma jamma in that film, so I'll leave it. It was awesome. So as far as Shin Godzilla goes, now this one to me, is not, I know this is going to be a little controversial. It's not as high up on my list personally. I found the film very slow. The Godzilla, all the Godzilla stuff was great, and even though I always prefer the practical effects, I did like what they did with the technology that they had using the CGI effects, and all, his attack scene, the way that he unleashed his atomic breath, and how he could fire it out of his dorsal spines and out of his tail, and just the way he evolved from the different forms, from that first form that we never got to see in the ocean. And then of course when he comes on land and he's got like the blood and stuff coming out, it was really gross and creepy, but it's, all that part of the movie was awesome. To me, where it was slow was all the political talk and stuff, which I know was aimed at events that they had going on in Japan at the time. There was kind of a speak out against. So I understand that point of it. It was a little hard of a watch for me personally. I think there's other movies that focus on the human element that I think do it a little bit better, including, I'll be honest, -1, I think has a better, plot line as far as the human stuff goes. So I just found it kind of slow, and I definitely enjoyed it better in the dub, because when you watched it I saw it in the movie theaters initially, and when you watched it subtitles, you not only had the subtitles, but then I had like everything that was going on, like they'd say, like, you're at the prime minister's office, or you have the secretary of state's pen that's on his desk that I had to have a caption for some reason, and it got a little hard of a watch for me. But that's where I kind of felt as far as that goes. But all the Godzilla stuff I really enjoyed, and a very cool ending. With, you guys know, that ending scene that I guess we'll probably never follow up on, because I guess there's never going to be a sequel to it. But it was a cool setup, though. One of you guys go ahead from here.
Everett, take it. We're going up the ladder.
Shin Godzilla. Okay. I understand why people may not like this one. It is slow. It does have its slow moments. Again, all the political things. But like Michael said, there's a reason behind all of that. It was to kind of like address, actual issues that Japan was dealing with, at the time and stuff. And like, they definitely had like evacuation issues, things that delayed certain things that could have been done better. So it's like you had that realism attached to the movie, which as an American audience, yeah, it's going to be slow. You're going to see like a lot of it not really being needed. But once you really do understand the purpose of it, it makes it a little bit more bearable of a watch. But I will still say it has its slow moments. But Shin Godzilla, I still really do enjoy as a whole. All the scenes with Godzilla definitely just pays for the film in itself. It's fun. It's destructive. Again, Godzilla's atomic breath scene, that whole nighttime scene. Wow. Just the music, everything, just dang. Like, that was one of the best Godzilla scenes in the entire history of the monster. The whole cliffhanger at the end, like Michael said as well, I kind of wish that we would get a little more something out of it, but that's kind of just going to end where it's at. The whole blood coagulant idea was cool, to see that come back again, touching back with Space Godzilla. And then that actor is also in this movie as well. Shin Godzilla, good, solid movie. I would still say if there was somebody who was recently getting into Godzilla, definitely Shin Godzilla would be one of the Godzilla films to like show them. You know what I mean? Because you have like 54, Shin Godzilla, -1 obviously would be a good one. For people to see, to get them started into like, what are all the different versions of Godzilla? And it's like, well, here's a very good dish to be served with all different kinds of tastes for the monster. Nick, go ahead. Shin Godzilla.
Okay, this is what I did see in theaters. Did you guys see it in theaters too?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I figured you did. And yeah, 2016, it had been a while since we'd had a Godzilla on the big screen, so it was kind of refreshing to see that again. And but yes, being in Japanese with the subtitles everywhere, it was definitely one that I was like, I'm going to have to watch this one again. But the dub did help. But yeah, it was one where it kind of blew away expectations. And boy, did this one get beat up by some of the fans. Not all of them. some of them liked it, some of them hated it, some people were like, it's okay, and I was one who was like, yeah, actually I'm kind of glad this is one and done, because I don't think it needs a sequel, tell you the truth. I think it ends well. And I think if you just make a sequel to something like this, or a continuation in comic book form or animated series or some sort of whatever, you could really ruin it. Sometimes the things are left best as a mystery. So that's why I like how they ended that the way it did. It was very Poltergeist-esque, if you will. The way they ended that, it's like, that it's more than just a simple science, nature kind of attacking back at us, and he's just a product of science, nature, whatever, and that he's somehow maybe mythological even, and these are the spirits of the victims. I don't know, something to that effect. But you can pull from that all kinds of conversations, and that's what's great about this film. And the fact that we got the Shin Kamen Rider and the Shin Ultraman out of this too, from the same directors and creators. The Godzilla design, not bad. Again, being one and done, this wasn't going to replace the original Godzilla. So yeah, do something different. I'm all about updating the look of Godzilla and changing it for this film or that film or this film. And that's what gives us, the lasting legacy that is the 70th anniversary here of Godzilla. So yeah, very cool. And I liked even the change in, attack and power that Shin Godzilla brought out. So was pretty darn awesome. So, and last but not least, and I'll just take this screen away, GMK, which is where we actually left off last time, Everett, if you remember. So how about I start with this? We'll go Everett and Michael, and then we'll do our closing. So GMK, love this film. Got a lot of rewatchability. I do think it gets a lot of hype. Sometimes it gets a lot of, what do you want to call it? Just, I don't know. Maybe it's just overrated at times, but it's not without some merit there, because it has callbacks to a lot of the classic Godzilla series, but and I've told you this, guys, about the mythological idea of Godzilla, is it goes directly into that, and the mythological Ghidra and the mythological, the monsters that are in this, they're not just from nature. So to see that kind of origin story come out, I really like that aspect of it. And it had a bit of comedy, it had a bit of, just the relationships between characters, the father-daughter kind of relationships that were going on there. Obviously we're following the military, but we're also following some common people, reporters, if you will. And, I think that aspect of it was really cool. And, going into small towns, the idea that, the Odo Island kind of idea of these people that it's like he's just a myth, right? And then he comes out of nowhere and he's a real thing that's going to destroy us. So I love that aspect of it. And the Godzilla design, the white eyeballs, I thought that was cool. Makes for a cool collectible. But again, like Shin, a bit of a deviation from some of the other designs, so you could take it or leave it. But yeah, pretty cool. There's times though I really feel like the suit actor could get his arms up more. That's just my criticisms of it. I feel like his arms are really far down, whereas Mr. Nakajima, of course, always showed you when he reenacts Godzilla, his arms are way up by his head, and because that's where his arms belong, because his head is in the neck of the Godzilla suit. So there's times that kind of bothers me, but again, I could get past that. So Everett, take it from here.
GMK, all right, one of the longest Godzilla movie titles in history. I love GMK. It's my favorite of the Millennium era. And that's saying a lot, because there's a lot from the Millennium era that I really don't like. But GMK being top, I love it. I love the soundtrack, the monster designs, everything. Actually, I really love the design of Mothra in the movie. I think it's great. I love the purple eyes and everything like that. Baragon, love seeing Baragon again. He's one of my favorites, even though he didn't have his heat ray in this one. I really wish GMK, and I'm pretty sure we all feel the same on this, kept the original monster lineup. I understand. King Ghidorah, Mothra, a little more popular, a little more, probably money to be made there, using those characters versus Anguirus and Varan. But man, can you imagine the kind of movie GMK would be today? Like how much of a fan favorite it would probably be if it had Varan and Anguirus still in it alongside Baragon. Oh man, I think it would. Toho made a bad decision on that one.
Don't remind me. My goodness.
Oh man. If anything, Toho, man, give us the GMK that we should have gotten. Like, remake GMK, but throw in Varan and Anguirus, please. No, fantastic. I love the D3 missiles, the missile with the drill tip ends. I think that was a good, fun idea. Ghidorah, at the end of the day, not one of my favorite designs for the monster, but I do have the X Plus version of it. The scales on it pop beautifully, so I still like it to a certain degree. You still get a little bit of Varan design in the Ghidorah heads, which is cool. And just overall, just a good, fun Godzilla adventure. I really do enjoy GMK. Again, favorite of the Millennium series. And now I'm going to pass it over to the bargain basement of the airways, Zillafan85. Go for it.
Whoa!
Thank you for that. Oh boy. So we're going to close on an interesting note here because this is going to be a little bit controversial. GMK is not one of my personal favorite Godzilla films. And it's for a lot of the reasons that you had mentioned. Actually, Everett, you brought up a lot of points I was going to talk about, how I would have much preferred the original concept of having it be Godzilla going against Baragon, Anguirus, and Varan. That's what I really wanted. And funny how those three were going to be the lineup, because out of the lesser known kaiju, those are all three of our favorites. I'm an Anguirus stan through and through. I know, Nick, you are for Varan, and Baragon is for Godzilla Fan Freaks until the day he dies. So it's such a shame we didn't get that original concept. And the thing was, because they didn't really tweak the story to fit the more popular and marketable kaiju of King Ghidorah and Mothra, who were supposed to be considerably more powerful than Anguirus and Varan. It made Godzilla just feel too overpowered, I thought, in the film. And the monster battles, I felt, were kind of lackluster, as a result of which maybe people are going to throw pitchforks at me and all that for that. But that was just kind of my personal take on it. I agree also, Everett, the King Ghidorah design, definitely not one of my favorites. Mothra had a very cool look, though. I did like that. Baragon, I liked his look, much prefer the Showa look for Baragon, and I prefer the Showa roar, which I believe they opted not to use because they wanted Baragon, I guess, to have a more sympathetic roar, if I read the backstory on that right. So okay, but so that was just kind of how I felt about it. But some of the other stuff, the father-daughter relationship was very interesting. The whole mythical aspect of it, I thought, was interesting. Like I said, it's not one of my favorites, but I don't dislike it. I do enjoy it. There's just certain aspects I felt could have been improved a lot. Godzilla had a really cool design, very menacing. The potbelly was a little off-putting, and like Nick, like you said, I did not care for the whole he's got to have his hands down like this because Nakajima would be up. And that was one thing I actually didn't like about Godzilla -1, with the way he moved and did some roars. I thought just didn't feel like Godzilla to me in certain points. I'm not saying the whole time, but there were certain shots where he like leaned forward to roar. It's like, I've never seen Godzilla do that before. But I mean, that was, there were certain nitpicks that you can have with every film, I guess. But other than that, though, like I said, I did really enjoy it. It's probably the most evil we've ever seen Godzilla. So that's definitely something to note, where he was actually really not a force of nature. He was really just a straight up almost a mustache twirling villain in this film. So that I really enjoyed. The Sub-Satsuma was a cool vehicle. I like that. Glad I have the Toho Machine Chronicles of it, and Everett, I think you've got it as well, right? So,
yep, I got one.
So so it's not one of my favorites, but but it is one that I enjoy. It's kind of that middle of the road pack for me. But at the same time, like you said, Everett, I'm not a big fan of the Millennium era films. A few that I enjoy. That one, like I said, is kind of the okay point for me. I do like Godzilla 2000 a lot, and of course, I love Final Wars, which I know you guys are hit and miss on. But that's just kind of my sentiments for it. So I guess I'll go ahead and cut it there.
All right. These are all fair criticisms, gentlemen, but a lot of love for Godzilla. 70 years old. He's never looked better. And, it's great to see everyone who's had the chance to endure our geeking out on the classic Godzilla, series. Bobby Reynolds, good to have you here. And someone named Fakey. I'll call you Fakey. Yeah. Maybe you're real Fakey, but maybe you're also a bot. But I appreciate you chatting, and maybe if you're a bot, liking and subscribing and all those great things. So let's call it a night. But I want to give you both gentlemen the chance to shout out anything, and of course, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? Start with GFF.
All right, guys. Well, I am Godzilla Fan Freaks. You can find me here on YouTube. I've been doing this a little over 10 years now. So lots of content. If you haven't checked my stuff out, definitely do so. And then, of course, you could also find Godzilla Fan Freaks over on Facebook and Instagram. I have pages there and all that good stuff. And please just, enjoy my content. Give it a thumbs up if you feel so wish. And what to look forward to in the future, I'm not really sure. Things have kind of slowed down. Probably see what happens here after the holidays as far as like reviews and stuff like that goes. Hopefully get back into the swing of my live streams, Kaiju Chill Clocks. I have been missing those, but just haven't had the time or the energy to put them out. But that's basically what you can figure out through me. I'll either do figure reviews, we'll talk about some topics, I'll do some live streams of my own. But then I also love being here on the Monster Report. And of course, Michael, Zillafan85, take it away, brother.
Thank you so much. Yes, I am Zillafan85, and I do represent YouTube's bargain basement of the airwaves. Thank you to my fellow co-host for that. Yes, you can find me here on YouTube. I have my own channel, Zillafan85, mostly figure reviews of my Godzilla and Kaiju figures that I do. Like I said, last week I put one out. My content's been kind of slow, so it's been kind of maybe every few weeks or so I've been pumping a video out, doing my best. So just kind of look forward to the next figure review. I want to get back into some more of my vintage figures. I still have some Trendmasters that I want to get out there and review for you guys. I'm also on Instagram at Zillafan85. So YouTube and Instagram are kind of my two mainstays right now. I've thought about maybe creating a TikTok, but we'll see what happens with that in the future. And then other than the content that I'll get out there, I'm also hoping to do some more live streams with my fellow compatriots over here. Nick, you and I had discussed a little while back about an idea that you had, and I really thought it was a good one. Maybe I better not spoil any details here, but I'm definitely still interested in that. So,
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. So when we'll get a chance, we'll have to figure that one out. Everett, I'll look forward to getting to seeing more of your Kaiju Chill Clocks and hopefully being a guest again in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at for right now, but just looking forward to what the future holds. And, this being the 70th anniversary of Godzilla, long live the king. So, Nick.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'll get the super chat from Bobby Reynolds. Thank you so much for the super chat. So he would like to see a War of the Monsters movie, balls to the wall, sci-fi, action-packed kaiju done at practical. In practical effects? Oh, yes, absolutely. Anything with practical effects, I'm all for. It's so funny how, we keep going back to them and they leave the lasting legacy, as it were. So no one's really talked about the really great, CGI unless it was groundbreaking. It's now just kind of part of the, of what's expected. But, if I were to go back to the CGI of Jurassic Park, yeah, obviously it was groundbreaking for its time, and it still holds up pretty well today. But there was also really great practical effects in those kinds of films. That's why I love 84. That's showing you what a monster movie can look like when they light it correctly, when they build the kaiju correctly, when they act like it's a real thing. So yes, Bobby, keep watching all of these guys content. Yeah, Michael and Everett, we're gonna have you on again for another show. And yes, ZillaFan85, your shirt reminds me especially of the 80s and the things that we grew up with, the kinds of content. It doesn't necessarily need to be monster content, but what made an impression upon us, growing up, even cartoons, music that we grew up with, the books that came out, things like that impacted us in our childhood, growing up, through our teens, through college, through, those years, and then into adulthood. And now we're all just, mostly me is just old, but not as old as Jonathan. So, but, yeah. There we go. We'll see if he's still back, if he's still watching. So yeah, Jonathan, we love you. So shout out again to my co-host today. Thank you so much for being here on the Monster Report Live. Everyone out there, of course, like, subscribe, all those great things. Yes. And get us over that 100,000 subscribers. We are getting close to that plaque, that YouTube plaque that is out there. And so really looking forward to that. But again, it's because of the viewers that are out there that make this all possible. So again, like, subscribe, all of those great YouTube things. You can find the Monster Report on X and Facebook and on Instagram. Gojira-saurus, we'll get these last ones in before we call it a night. Everyone here grabbed, no, I did not grab a 70th anniversary Monster Arts nice cap to the anniversary. Sure, hey, that's great. I don't think you guys did either, right?
No, I didn't pick that one up.
Yeah, I have the original version of the SHMA 54, and I'm content with that. So
yep.
You still there, Nick?
Oh, did Nick freeze right at the very end? Oh no!
Yeah, no. Oh gosh.
So close to the end.
All right, you're there. You're back.
There
You're
it
back. Hey, can I shoot out a question for everybody before we end it real quick? It was something I wanted to bring up.
Fire away.
So I know the three of us all took part in pre-ordering the Titanic Creations Young Gary figure. I'm just wondering what's going on with that, because I haven't gotten any emails. I haven't heard anything, and I'm really, really anxious for that figure. So I just wanted to maybe see if anybody knows anything or what you guys have heard before we close this out.
I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard anything from Max, so I'm not really sure. I believe that they were being shipped over to him soon to where they could ship them out, but I'm not sure.
Okay, Gojira-saurus is letting us know before Christmas. So yeah, Young Gary should be on its way to you soon, I hope. So yeah, I guess we'll just be patient with Mac and Titanic Creations. I know that it's the best laid plans of mice and men sometimes, but yeah. And so I imagine it's on its way to you here soon. And of course, the Pulgasari, he's been doing some cool things with that. You're right, Jonathan.
Jonathan taking a jab at you with that one.
I can't argue with my elders. So, all right. On that note, thank you. Stick around after the stream, gentlemen, and we'll say our proper goodbyes. And for all of you out there, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Monster Report Live here on YouTube and on Facebook. And we will catch you next time.
あれはゴジラ。